Hoje eu vou falar com o repórter norueguês Eskil Engdal, que é um dos melhores repórteres da Noruega e com quem eu tive e ainda tenho o prazer de trabalhar junto, de fazer vários projetos importantes. Nós viemos aqui para o Brasil para fazer uma reportagem e eu trouxe ele aqui para a gente bater um papo. Eskil Engdal, ele é jornalista do jornal norueguês Dagsnytt, um jornal para o qual eu também trabalho frequentemente. Nós trabalhamos sempre juntos, já estivemos na Líbia, Iraque, no Brasil, Venezuela, fizemos já vários trabalhos juntos. E eu gostaria de conversar com ele porque ele é, além de um grande amigo, mas também uma das minhas principais referências dentro do jornalismo. Apesar de nós falarmos norueguês a maior parte do tempo juntos, essa entrevista vai ser feita em inglês, beleza?
Beleza.
Okay, thank you very much for
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, please. So, Eskil, you know that how much I respect your work, and we've been working together for many years now. You have been working for the same newspaper for 27 years now. Dagsnytt. How was like the first moment in your life when you decided, I have to write, I have to produce stories that tell to other people what is happening in places they don't know, they've never been, and they probably will never visit, to know realities that will probably never come close to their own lives? When did you decide to start?
Probably started earlier than the writing, because I come from a family of sailors.
Okay.
And when the sailors came home from exotic places like Valparaiso or South China Sea, they gathered in my mother's house to get cleaned up and to get sober, so that before going home to their mothers. And these days they were telling stories about these exotic places, and I was laying under the table listening to these stories, and I decided, okay, I want to be a sailor too. To go there to experience these very, very strange and weird places, hear these amazing stories. But I was not a very good sailor. But at the same time, when I grew a little bit older, I got very interested in literature. I was reading a lot. Yeah. And then I came over storytellers like the Polish writer Ryszard Kapuscinski, who was a correspondent in Africa and Latin America for a while, and he mixed the reportage with the literature. And you had Bruce Chatwin did the same. For a long time, my heroes, and I wanted to be like them. And then I discovered the gonzo journalism, Hunter S. Thompson, Tom Wolfe. They were not straight writers, straight reporters. They had this amazing literature. I got fascinated by them very, very young age. So that was my aim. I wanted to write like them. That was hard.
Yeah, because you still today, you say that you hate writing. I heard that you say it's a difficult process.
I can tell you the process later. Yeah. I love writing. I hate writing. For me, the process is 3 phases.
Yeah.
I work as a feature writer, which means you publish maybe 3 or 4 stories every half year. So you have to find the right story. If you're working with the wrong story for 2 or 3 months, it ruins you. It's a catastrophe. And then you end up in the pub. Yeah, for a long time. So the first phase is finding the good story. What is the good story? Usually can take 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. And then when you find a story, you have the research phase. I like to be really well prepared. That's a kind of cool period. You go home from work at office time, and then you go for the adventure. And then comes the writing. I'm a slow writer, and for me, it takes, if we've been together on a trip, it takes me, without writing, I think 1 or 2 weeks just to absorb what you see. What is the story here? What is the main character? What is the main narrative here? What is important in the story? I mean, writing is thinking. It's not about kind of sitting there writing. So it takes me maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And then comes the hard part. Okay, you start the writing. Then you start with the lead. If you don't have the lead, you don't have a story. And to find the perfect lead, it can take also a couple of weeks. Yeah, you rewrite the lead, because if you don't have a good lead, you don't have a reader. At the phase with writing, I can sit to 10 o'clock in the evening, just with leads. Go to the pub, very depressed because the lead is not good. I'm getting very drunk at the pub. Go back, write the lead, and when I'm leaving in the morning from the office, I think I'm a genius.
Yeah.
And when I come to work, a little bit hangover the day after, to look at my very genius work, it's absolute crap. Then you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
But it's a long process. And,
Because like I have experienced that, not just like, you know, I was with you many times in the bar, many times in the pub in Oslo, right? And walking home drunk with you. And I've been like in the field with you many times. First ask you, what is the good story? What a good story must have for you to feel this is a good story? Why a story is good?
It depends on the topic. It has to touch your emotions on one level. And it has to be a kind of progress. When you're reading stories, you're reading always with a look at what happens next. So there has to be a kind of drama, and you have to feel sympathy for the people or antipathy. You have to find interesting characters. Yeah. Or an interesting place could also be a character.
Yeah, because this is like one of the things, I didn't want to tell you that because this is exactly what I imagined that you would say. Because like every time that we are in the field, I can see how you engage with people. Cease from dancing with people, you know, you start dancing with people, whatever. Or like, for example, when we were here in Brazil doing a story about PCC, and you were getting drunk with catuaba with drug dealers. So, but you were like...
The catuaba was horrible.
The catuaba was horrible, yes. The catuaba was horrible. But you like get really involved with them. What does like this mean for you to have the opportunity to get close to these kind of people?
It's more about a method. I think to be a profound journalist, you have to love people in a way. When I was younger, in my stories, I either was a crook or a hero. Now I'm a little bit older, the world is more complicated. There is no crooks or plain crooks or plain heroes. Easier for me to interact with people because I don't kind of judge them. Oh, he's the crook. And if he's the crook, I want to know why he is the crook. And also, I really, really hate interviewing people. Yeah. Interviewing people is killing the conversation or understanding of people. You have to interact. I'd rather sit in a corner and listen to what people are talking about. That gives you an understanding. When you interview people, they fabricate a different world, different stories from what they are. But being there, first to build confidence. And okay, Andre, I experienced the same with you when we're together in the field. You're not the photographer there. People forget you're a photographer. You're just a guy in the bar trying to be nice. Put away your camera, and after 2 days you can put, because they've forgotten, the camera is there. And it's the same with this. Just put it away. I seldom use notebooks. But I always have the recorder on, so I can have the details of the conversation. And also in writing, dialogue is much more interesting than questions and answers. Yeah,
and you are like... but let's say that you are like a young dinosaur, you know, like, and who were like the kind of people that you work with 27 years ago? How was like, you know, your colleagues sitting on the desk on your side? What is the difference today of the young breed of journalists working today? Because what I feel sometimes is that today we have a lot of people that are studying, like say in film schools, but very little people making films, you know, like I have to tell the story.
Okay, the dinosaur will tell you how it was in prehistorical times.
Prehistorical times, yeah.
You know, but when I started in Dagens Næringsliv 27 years ago, there was
a formal education as a journalist?
Yeah, kind of. I was studying 2 years, something called science of press, which was totally boring, and I studied literature, which I think was very important because writing is reading. Yeah. The only way to become a good writer is to be a good reader. So 2 years with literature, I didn't pass the exam, but I read a lot. But when we started in Dagens Næringsliv, the atmosphere was a little bit different because there was a lot of people without education. They were very political, they were radical in a way. Dagens Næringsliv in Norway is a business paper, and it's conservative. Conservative liberal, but the editors wanted young radical guys who could jump fences. They wanted people to jump fences, people who wouldn't give up to get a story. People were more living a kind of the journalist lifestyle, which was a bad lifestyle. It was a lot of, we were going to the pub. Every Friday, 20 journalists went to the pub together and were smoking and drinking and talking about journalism. Journalism was kind of your DNA, totally absorbing lifestyle. Now I see it's more a profession.
Profession, yeah.
Had the pleasure sometimes to talk to students, and I always ask them, why did you become a journalist? And of course, one answer for them, I want to tell true stories about the world. I want to tell the stories that no one wants me to tell. But when I see the students, a lot of the students, they tell me, okay, I wanted to be an engineer or a doctor or a journalist because it's very high profile, very well paid, and I want to travel. and I try to tell them, okay, most journalists does not travel. At all. These young professionals, they're different breeds, some of them, because they were the clever girls sitting in the front row, very polite. It's not an unpolite guys who jump the fences. And journalism is about jumping fences also. When students ask me, how could I get a job in your paper? I say, okay, go.
Jump a fence.
Yeah, go to the world, write a story, go to the editor. And when editors say, no, I won't meet you, you go to the editor anyway. And you go to the editor 2 times a week. Yeah. And then the editor soon, okay, who is that? And then you show, you have the kind of resources to break through and be a journalist. Yeah.
You decide to be a reporter, to become a reporter. And you spend like a lot of your time, energy and feelings and everything. But you are also like a writer. You wrote books. What is the difference between like writing a book like Thunder that required, from you a lot of research and investigative journalism, and that to become a book and not a reportage? What is the difference? When did you feel this is a book, this is not just a reportage?
First of all is the endurance. Writing a book, Chasing Thunder, took almost 2 years with research and writing, and I was on the verge of giving up. A lot of times.
You called me many times.
I said,
from Australia,
I'm giving up. I'm giving up. I was old.
My life is not good.
Yeah. That was a piece of investigative journalism. First of all, it was really kind of forensic work to find owners of a pirate ship operating in Antarctica. No one wanted this story out. No one wanted to meet us. Yeah, we were traveling to Australia, and the sources said, okay, I don't want to talk to you. And you travel half the world with endurance. I don't have that. So I was working with a good colleague of mine, Kjetil Sæther, he's a very, very calm guy, and he comes to, okay, don't give up, don't. sit down, we will fix it. So always on heavy projects like investigative journalism, you have to be 2 people. You have to be 2 people. You have to be 2 people to discuss all obstacles and just to have someone to drink with and to cry with and to laugh with. It's almost not possible to do this alone.
Another point of view, like besides writing, is singing, right? I think like your group, I haven't seen you like on stage yet, but I saw videos and I saw pictures, and I know some of the people who are with you. One of the things that calls my attention is that it expresses very much of you, because you take people together. You are the kind of guy who people like to be around and say, hey, Eskil Engdal band, of course you're gonna play that thing, of course you're gonna have fun with that. How important is that for you? Like, why did you start? One thing that was really fun, like when we were like entering Venezuela, And you know, everybody believed that we were like, are you artists? Are you musicians? So yes, we are musicians. We are not journalists, because like you have this lifestyle, this musician lifestyle, right? And people in Venezuela, like, they believed that we were musicians going to Venezuela.
And that was good. Yeah, that was good.
So how important is that for you?
I really hate being interviewed on stage. I released a book a couple of years ago called Hunting High and Low. It was a series of reportages, and then you were invited to festivals to sit and talk about your book, about your journalism. And I've been sitting in the audience myself, and this is extremely boring. And I'm always sweating a little, getting nervous. So, and then I thought, okay, I have, most of my friends are musicians.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's sing the stories. Let's sing the journalism. So one feature story, which is kind of 11 pages, becomes kind of 4 verses and a refrain. And suddenly you have a totally new audience for journalism. And of course it's great fun, because normal day-to-day life in a newspaper is not that very glamorous. You're coming, you're Googling, you're taking some phones, you're saying hi to your colleagues, you go home. Because the rest of the crew doesn't go to the pub anymore, so no. And with the band you have this, we travel a lot together, we laugh a lot together, and you create something more out of the journalism.
It's about the family.
It's a family. For me, it's a family. Yeah. Oh, it's a bad family.
Thank you very much. You know, what you as a person mean to me, you know, brother. Give me a hug here, bro. Yo! And thank you very much.
Thanks, Andre.
Bom, se vocês querem mais vídeos como esse, assina o nosso canal aí, deixa um like e, por favor, deixe aí os seus comentários, porque esse canal é sobre os seus comentários. Vai lá. Um abraço.